Netflix's Fear Street trilogy is a very strong and surprising adaptation of R.L. Stine's series of books. It also sets up Netflix very well with a future franchise, as the cohesion in the storytelling and the talent both in front of and behind the camera really play to the advantage of every single installment and the story as a whole. So, told in three parts in reverse chronological order: 1994, 78, and 1666. 1994 is a very strong start to the trilogy, taking a lot of pages out of the book of Scream and other slashers that popped up again once Scream became such a big hit. You can really feel that a lot, especially in the opening sequence, which, as the opening sequence of the first movie of a trilogy, it really brings you right in. It leaves you, exhilarated, it leaves you wanting to learn more, and it leaves you really curious. From there, we meet Dina and Sam, two young lovers who get mixed up in the curse of Sarah Fear, who is a witch that continues to haunt their town of Shadyside, and has for decades and generations, while their rivals across town, Sunnyvale, continue to enjoy generational wealth, all sorts of success, and just basically complete utter luxury. It's up to Dina and Sam, along with Dina's brother Josh and their friends Kate and Simon, to save the day and protect Sam from basically other past iterations of Sarah Fear's wrath and her curse. And that's one thing that I thought that this first installment did very well, is it pulls you into the extended universe and the overall story that you're going to be seeing, but it doesn't give you everything all at once. It does a very good job of kind of being like, okay, now here's this, process this. Okay, now here's this, now process this. That by the time the first movie is just about over and you're starting to see the scope of everything, it really comes into picture and you're like, oh, okay, they're going for something a lot bigger than just, a throwback 90s slasher movie. And I think that type of commitment to the storytelling and that type of cohesion in the storytelling is going to make it something where each part of the three are still going to be enjoyable on a standalone viewing. 1978 is the second in the trilogy, and it is my personal favorite of the three, for a couple different reasons. I won't go into all of them right now, but 1978 follows the stories of young C. Berman, who we meet at the end of 1994, who is someone who has previously survived Sarah Fear's curse. So it's C. Berman, Cindy Berman, and Ziggy, her sister, played by Emily Rudd and Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. And the two of them are working at a summer camp that things suddenly go awry, basically, is the best way to put it. And what we get is an old school throwback slasher movie, completely in the vein of Friday the 13th, especially those like part 2, 3, 4, like those middle installments of the franchise. This is the goriest of the three by far, and I think it's the best acted. I think that the level of performances goes up a bit here, and I don't really know why, because it's not like any of the performances in the first movie, in the first part, were weak. It's not like I was sitting there like, okay, well, they're really taking me out of it. But for some reason, the across the board here, it just feels like they hit another level. It feels like they were like, okay, we've got all the bulk of the story building and storytelling, the foundation laid. So let's go in and just kind of show why this is such a terrifying curse and what is going on here. So we get to follow those characters with unbelievably set up kills and sequences, while still learning more about the lore without it getting too heavy-handed. And I think that's something that can bog down a lot of these transition movies in a trilogy. I think the part 2 is a really hard thing to land in a trilogy, and like to make you want to come back and watch the rest. And when this one ended, I was very much like, okay, I am excited to see how they wrap this up. This is a very good hook here to end on. And, I was very ready for 1666, which doesn't have the luxury that 94 and 78 had. Like, 94 and 78 are pulling from obvious influences, and there's so much music in 94 and 78 that just establish the tone and the mood, and it feels like every new character gets a song that describes them and is their entrance music almost, and like really hammers the point home of the setting, the period, and the people and what you're seeing. And 1666, you don't get the benefit of those drops. Like they don't have that type of like style and flair that they can lean into, and they really use it to their advantage. The first hour plus of 1666 is, just a tense period, like witch type thriller, and it's not as scary as the other two. It's not as gory as the other two, but it is very engrossing and it is very suspenseful. I think it's probably the best constructed, both in terms of story and in just production value. Like everything looks incredible, and I think even they recycle some of the actors from part one and a couple from part two, but into part three. And I thought that a lot of the performances from the same actors were stronger here. Then when you get to the end of the main story, like the performances, their level is sustained up at that level. So something about, as this series went on, everyone just got stronger. I don't know if it was just they got more comfortable or things started to fall into place, but by the time you get to the end of 1666 and the reveals, and while the reveals aren't, shocking, and a couple of the big twists and things you kind of see coming, and like the messages get a little heavy-handed, it's still, they're all working on such a high level, and everything's working together so well and so cohesively that it would be hard for me to sit here and nitpick and be like, yeah, but it was a little heavy-handed. Like, this was a truly ambitious project that, for almost from start to finish, was very entertaining and well realized. It's clear that everyone involved was 100% on board with what they were doing. All three films were directed by Leigh Janiak, who co-wrote the movies with Phil Graziente, Zach Olkowicz, and Kate Treffry. And it's clear that they sat down and mapped out a story. It's wildly ambitious, and for the most part, that ambition pays off and rewards the viewer with very interesting and engaging, and most importantly, a set of three unique movies that overall tell a cohesive story. Another thing I really liked about these movies is that at no point did anything ever feel dumbed down or simplified to like speak down to the audience. I thought that even though, this is a young adult series of books that it's based on, and it's probably geared towards a young adult type of audience mostly, that may not have seen, some of the slashers and some of the other movies that it's influenced by, this movie was very, very smart about how it presented its things and how it treated its audience. This whole trilogy was. I think the diverse cast and the way it handled all of its storytelling is very well done, and is proof that, it's not hard. It's not hard to write strong, diverse characters. Netflix has already said that they want to do more. Leigh Janiak and her team, I believe, has said that, they want to do more as well. They don't know what, if that's going to be more movies, if that's going to be a series, if that's going to be, who knows. But whatever it is, as long as the creatives behind it are on board and participating, and it's them in charge, I will watch basically anything that they produce. I've heard, someone say that Netflix wants this to be their like horror MCU. I'm really curious to see what they mean by that and how that would work. I would give this trilogy absolutely an A. That is my thought on it. I preferred 1978 the most, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the trilogy. Which movie was your favorite? What you thought worked or didn't work? Please let me know in the comment section, or like, subscribe, any of that fun stuff to make sure you don't miss a video. Thank you for watching, and I will be back soon.